I love everything that you do, but I hate the way that you move.
Okay. YouTube, welcome back to my channel, you guys. My name is Angel Uchiha. If y'all are new here, if y'all are not new, then of course, welcome back. And I want to thank y'all for liking, commenting, subscribing, running those views up, all that good shit that y'all do to show me love. Y'all are much appreciated, and I really need y'all more than ever because we are still on the road to 1,000 subscribers, y'all. So, real quick, if you're not sure if you're subscribed, stop this video. Check underneath the little, by the description. Check and see if you're subscribed. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. So, with that being said, let's just jump straight into the video. So, as y'all can see by the title today, we are going to be talking about why women. Hold on. Before I get into this, I need to make sure my glasses is, I can't be, lecturing people. My glasses is crooked. Like that's not leadership behavior. So, anyways, we are talking about why women are the natural leaders of our nuclear family, our offspring, our culture, and thus our society. Welcome to my TED Talk, y'all. All right, so real quick, I do want to make a quick disclaimer that this is not a male hate video. This is not a feminist, anti-man, anti-masculine energy rant. Okay? First of all, before we get into too much, okay? A lot of people like to call me a feminist, but if you look up the definition of feminism, it says advocating for women's rights on the basis of the equality of the sexes. I don't believe that the sexes are equal. I believe that women are superior. Therefore, I'm not a feminist. Let's just drop that there. Two, again, this is not a male hate train. I will not be bashing men. I will not be disrespecting men or anything of that nature. I feel like I need to give that intro because I've already made this statement. Girl, I made this statement on my Instagram, on my TikTok, on my Facebook. And as y'all can see, by all these disgruntled men, the first thing men did was jump in their fucking feelings and jump in the comment section and say, "Oh, you hate men. Oh, you're a lonely cat woman. Oh, you're you're trying to disrespect men." I didn't say anything to disrespect y'all. All I said was women are the leaders. It's not my fault that your ego hears women are leaders and you instantly get triggered and feel like you need to word vomit a bunch of arguments and complaints about women in my comment section. So please don't come over here with that bullshit rhetoric and in that, oh, you're trying to hate men and bash men. Shut up. Shut up. I don't want to hear it. You're still welcome to comment it down below. But you're gonna look stupid because I already addressed it. Alright, so let's jump straight into the video. Okay. So the main reason why I believe that women are the natural leaders of our family and our society is because we have the most power between men and women in these areas. Now, when I say power, keep in mind that I'm referring to the definition that states, I'm gonna pop it up here for those that can't read, the ability to influence. Well, not for those who can't, what I mean. I'm gonna pop it up here for those who don't feel like taking the time to go and looking up the definition to make sure that I'm being honest. Okay, we're gonna put it right there. So it is the ability to influence the behaviors of others and or the outcome of a situation. That's the definition, right? So the reason why I believe women have the most power over the family and the culture and society between men and women is because women have the most natural influence. Natural. So without technology, without creating rhetoric and theology to indoctrinate and convince people to behave in a way that goes against our nature. If we just look at our biological design, women have the most natural influence over our family, our culture, and our society. Boom. So off rip, the majority of our influence begins with our um our regulation of reproduction. Okay? So the first thing that we have to remind ourselves is that as human beings, we are mammals, right? We are living organisms. So you can go look this up, love. But the main objective of any living organism is to reproduce itself and to sustain itself. This all comes with self preservation, reproducing oneself, meaning creating offspring, and sustaining oneself in that offspring. That is the main objective of any living organism, right? So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to piece together that reproduction is 90% up to the woman, right? And so this is where I want to make my first dismantle of commonly believed rhetoric. There are a lot of people, men and women included, it's both genders, but especially men, who have been indoctrinated by Abrahamic religions to believe that the man's seed carries all the life force to create a child, and women are basically just empty incubators waiting for a man to bestow life upon her. This is not true. The sperm, love, is not a baby. It's not a baby. And this, I know some people are gonna hear that and they're gonna like, duh, but you will be surprised. There are so many people, especially men, who have never paid attention in biology and they actually believe that their sperm is the fucking life and is the baby. And that when they're, shooting their sperm into a woman, they're actually putting the child inside of her and she's just growing it into a bigger size like an incubator. That's not what happens. In order for a human being to be formed, you need a sperm and an egg. The two have to come together because the father is only providing his half of the DNA. The mother is providing her half of the DNA. When these two things come together, you get a zygote, which is a fertilized egg. That is the seed of life, the zygote. Your sperm alone is not the seed of life. The egg alone is not the seed of life. When the two come together, and create a fertilized embryo. These two things are the seed of life together. Okay. Now, why do I say the woman has the most influence over that? Because she's essentially the manufacturer. Her body is where the act of reproduction, producing the child from start to finish, birthing it into this world, and then nurturing it with her breast milk afterwards, she dominates the area of reproduction. Therefore, she has the most hands on natural influence on the development of that child to the point where the things that she eats, drinks, consumes, and endures have a direct effect on the child. Okay. I'm talking what your mom experiences while you're in her womb can determine what mental disorders you end up developing, how much anxiety and stress you're susceptible to, depression, things of that nature, diabetes, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Deformities, birth defects, things of that nature. All of these things, which can drastically change the course of your life, is up to the mother. Um, I'll drop some evidence here where studies show that even the mother's birth weight when she was born, because keep in mind, as women, we're born with all of our ovaries. I mean, not our ovaries, I'm sorry. We're born with all of our ovum inside of our ovaries. We're born with all of our eggs. So it's not a situation where we turn a certain age and we have to wait for our testicles to drop and wait for our body to start producing sperm. No, women already have all of their ovaries before they're even born out of their mother. Okay. So when a woman is pregnant with a daughter, she's technically also carrying her future grandchildren at the same time, right? At least the eggs that will become her future grandchildren. Why is this important? Because a mother being a low birth weight, right? When she's born, can also go on to affect her offspring's birth weight. Am I making sense? So the conditions in which a mother is born can go on to affect the conditions in which her offspring was born, even if she doesn't do drugs or doesn't take anything that any type of medication that causes defects, or even if she has a healthy diet, the conditions that her mother birthed her under can affect the conditions in which her offspring are birthed under. This is extreme influence, my love. This is extreme influence. And I'll put the evidence here, because some people are like, oh, bullshit. Look at this. We're talking diabetes, we're talking high blood pressure, we're talking all kinds of symptoms in conditions that these offspring will have to live with for the rest of their lives, because of the conditions they faced in the womb, and because of the conditions their mother faced in her mother's womb, in their grandmother's womb. That's crazy, right? So, like I said earlier, the goal of any living organism, man or woman, is to reproduce itself and to sustain itself and its offspring. I'm sure you've heard. So I have a goal to reproduce myself, right? I'm sure you've heard the rhetoric of men. Well, it's not. Let me not say that. I don't want to demean it. It's not rhetoric. It is true. Of men saying, a man's goal is to spread his seed. It's so important for a man to spread his seed, to continue his bloodline, right? So as women, we are very important because we work as the filter that decides what DNA and lineage gets reproduced back into society, right? So, to give you an example of what I'm talking about, I wanna continue my lineage, right? Bob wants to continue his lineage. Tim wants to continue his lineage. I have the important role of deciding who actually gets to continue their lineage, Bob or Tim. If I choose Tim, Tim gets to continue his lineage, and Bob is asked out. Now, lucky for Bob, there's other women. I'm not the only woman on the planet, but he does, in fact, have to find a woman if he wants to reproduce his lineage. That's insane. We are literally the gatekeepers of what DNA, what phenotypes, and again, I'll pop the study right here. They even found that, how do I put this? The sperm from the previous mate could affect the size, aka the phenotypes, which is the physical, because you have genes, right? I'm trying to break this down in a way that's not too confusing. I hope I'm not confusing y'all. So you have genes that say this is what color your skin could be, right? The phenotype is what color your skin ends up actually being. So this is the feature that is actually displayed based off of the gene that's on the inside, right? So you can't see the genes, but you can see the phenotype, the thing that's actually displayed as a result of the genes that you carry, right? So what they discovered is the previous sexual partner, their DNA that was stored inside of the mother got passed on to her offspring with another mate. And those offsprings actually ended up displaying phenotypes from the previous sexual partner who isn't even their father. So as women, we have the ability to take in DNA and redistribute it back into society. This is an insane amount of influence. Let's go back to the definition of power, which is the ability to influence the behavior of others, which we will get into, and the ability to determine the outcome of a situation. So we have the ability to determine the outcome of the distribution of genes within our society. Again, so women have the power to determine whose lineage will be continued and reproduced back into society. And this is why men implement things like rape, like arranged marriages, to try to usurp this control or this power that the woman has, because otherwise it's up to the woman to say, I don't want to reproduce with you, Bob. I'm not carrying your child. I'm not going to know. Nope, you're not going to ejaculate into me. I'm not going to carry your child. I'm not going to give birth to it. I'm not going to nurture it. So they come up with things like rape and forced marriage and arranged marriage to kind of take that control and say, well, now you have no choice but to reproduce my lineage. Do you see what I'm saying here? And that's the reason for that. So moving forward, You will also have rhetoric, right? That will try to attempt to control a woman's distribution of her services. Okay. So by this I mean you have a lot of men who will say things like, "Oh, well, you can only be with one man." And I can be with how many women I want to be with because I have sperm and I can impregnate 100 women at 100. Shut the fuck up. That's because your job is damn near irrelevant. Let me not say that. They'll say all blah blah blah. But you have to be with one man at a time and keep your legs closed and um you know you only should reproduce with one man and blah 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 and do. I'm an advocate for quality over quantity in either direction, right? A lot of people, when they say quality over quantity, they're referring to, you know, don't go for a big number or a large amount. Keep it small in quality. But my thing is quality over quantity in either direction. So just because you're fucking one dude does not mean that he's a quality dude. You can be fucking with one dude that has hella genetic mutations, that has a terrible diet, that has a terrible lifestyle, that's exposing you to STDs and all kinds of things. He's a fucking thug or a gangster, so he's destroying our community. But you think that you're doing something just because you're only sleeping with one man. No, I'd rather see you have sex with five kings who take care of themselves, who have amazing genes, who are building up our community, than for you to sleep with one nigga who's trash. Okay? Which brings me into my next point of influence that women have, which is well, I basically already talked about it, but it's the ability to literally reproduce the types of men that we see within our society, right? So when you have a nigga that's a gangbanger, let's just use that for an example. You have a nigga that's a gangbanger and you have sex with him. What do you think he's gonna teach your child? What do you think he's gonna put into your child's mind? Um, what do you think your child is going to grow up seeing? So when you decide to have sex with this man, you not only reproduce him on a biological level, but also on a psychological level. So the same type of men that we complain about, the cheaters, the liars, stealers, the drug dealers, and this, that, and the third, we are the ones who are laying down and duplicating 10 of, like, if you don't like a nigga, why the fuck would you have 10 more mini versions of him? Why would you do that? That's your fault, love. So that's where I implement my first call of action to women, which is to be very selective with our sexual partners. Not saying you can only have one sexual partner. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is make sure that every time you have sex with someone, that is a person of quality. Because as we just seen, even if you don't have a child with him, you can still absorb his DNA and pass it on to your future offspring. And if you believe in shit like epigenetics, baby, be careful. Select your sexual partners very carefully. Make sure they're of quality because we are the manufacturers. We are out here building human beings. And we do not want any ingredients or any substance that is subpar to be duplicated back into our gene pools. All right, boom. So here we can get into the psychological effects that women have. So it's a known fact that women are the primary guardians and influence on children during their early developmental stages. Now, there are a lot of men, especially black men, who like to say, "Oh well, that's not true," or "That's only because of slavery. The white man took the man out of the home and left the woman with the children and blah 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 blah, and that's the only reason why she has the influence that she has, and it's not natural and blah 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 and do do do." This is cap. This is cap because statistically, women of all different races are primarily the caretakers of children during their early developmental stages, when they're babies and toddlers and small children. Across the board, women have the most overall hands-on experience with them during that time, whether they're white or they're black. We can go back to civilizations of antiquity. Women have always been the primary caretakers of the children. Men have always taken on occupations that cause them to be away from the home for an extended amount of times, such as being a soldier or a knight, being a merchant, being a mercenary. Even when we were hunters and gatherers, men were primarily the hunters, meaning they would have to leave. And any male child who was too young to hunt, and any female child would stay at home with the mothers. So even long before slavery, in America, women were still the primary caretakers of the children during their early developmental stages. Why is this important? Because this is the time when children are developing their people skills, their decision making skills. Their brain are creating new neurons to determine how they will perceive reality. They're developing their personalities. All of these things are happening during the time when they're most attached to their mothers. Why is this important? Because we currently live in a society to where, thanks to feminism, women have stepped out into the workplace. And so what's happening, um, more often than not, we're not going to say all the time, but what's happening the majority of the time is, instead of you having your baby and you being with your baby during these crucial developmental moments, you're sending your baby off to daycare. You're sending your baby off to preschool. You're sending your baby off to public school. And so now, instead of you being the one who is influencing them and raising them and helping them build these valuable characters and values and things of that nature, a complete stranger is in charge of this. To the women whose children are in school right now, what is your child doing? What is your child doing right now at this exact second? You don't fucking know. You're going to say something like, oh, well, he's in school. Okay, he's in school, but is he in class learning, or is he behind the bleachers kissing? You don't fucking know because you're not with him. Okay? Now, this isn't to knock anybody, because I understand. I completely understand. We live in an unnatural society. Therefore, it's more difficult to function within our nature. But naturally, our children are supposed to be with us during these early developmental stages, and this is why I advocate for homeschooling. I'm currently at a stage to where I'm able to homeschool my daughter, and if God is wills it, I will be homeschooling my future children as well. And this is what I recommend: if it is possible for you to homeschool your children, please do so. Stop being so quick. If you have a partner who's willing to work and allow you to be a stay-at-home mom, take that opportunity. Stop being so pressed to go work so that you can buy a $700 lace front. That's not the priority right now. The priority is your children. If you have the freedom, or the possibility, if you can take a work at home job and be with your children, then do so. Stop being so quick to shove our kids off into, I mean, girl, I was working at a daycare before, and I'm talking babies as small as six weeks old, fresh out the coochie. That's insane. There should be no reason your 6-week old baby is in somebody else's arms, being influenced by somebody else. So that's that we I'm just saying, like, as women, we have a lot of influence, which means we have a lot of power, and with great power comes great responsibility. Great responsibility. So the next area of influence is the influence that we have on the behavior of men. So I'm gonna pop an example right here. So as we can see, this man is right. He's right. I'm not gonna lie to you. When I first saw it, my first knee-jerk reaction was like, okay, another nigga making excuses for why he ain't shit. But I had to stop. and I had to check myself and I had to be real with myself. And he's absolutely right. When a man sees the type of behavior that we're willing to accept, and not only accept, but flock towards, he begins to change his behavior to emulate the behavior that we're validating. So, as women, not only do we have the ability to influence other human beings from the embryo all the way up to being born, from the early childhood developmental stages, but we also have the ability to influence other grown ass men who have already been born and developed, because when they see the behavior that we flock towards and validate, they begin to take on that behavior. So I've personally seen firsthand how a lot of men who that's not their character at all, they will try to adopt this, this macho, you know, Glock toting hood nigga persona, because he thinks that's what's gonna get him respected, and therefore that's what's going to attract more women to him. We see the little nerdy dude that try to change his whole vernacular and his whole way of carrying himself and doing things. I'm gonna drop a comment right here to give you exactly what I'm talking about. They will try to take on these personas to make themselves look more attractive. It's kind of like the peacock fluffing his feathers, or whatever the case may be, but on a deeper psychological level. So I'm just saying this to say, not when you're picking that thug ass ain't shit nigga to reproduce, not only are you literally reproducing him on a biological level, not only are you reproducing his mentality because he's influencing your child, but you're also reproducing his archetype because other good men are seeing how you're validating this behavior, and now they're changing their behavior. And again, I would like to reiterate for the last time, the definition of power is the ability to influence the behavior of others. So if you were going to get on here and say that women don't have power over men, then you can't agree with statements like this. You can't agree with it. See, me, I agree that women have the most influence over our children, over our men, over our nuclear family and our society. So I can admit things like this are true. But this is where, again, I call women to action and I say, look, with this influence comes power, and with this power comes responsibility. We need to be being conscious of the things that we consume whilst we're pregnant. This is me being speaking for myself as well. What are we eating? What are we drinking? What medications are we taking? Stop letting doctors just tell you any fucking thing. Do your own independent research and look into the medications that they're giving you, because they will lie to you. I've personally experienced where early in my first trimester with my first daughter, the doctor tried to give me a medication, and me just being me, I went and looked it up. And I remember I had asked the doctor, like, is it safe for me to take this medication while I'm pregnant? And she said, yeah, yeah. I went and looked it up. And first page of the manual, it says, do not take in first trimester. Oh, I went off. Oh, I went clean the fuck off. I went off on the nurses, everybody. Why the fuck would you give me something that clearly states do not take it within the first trimester? Why would you do that? And I'm so diligent. I went into the details of like, okay, why is it saying this? Why? I found out that there had been no clinical studies to determine whether or not it had an effect on pregnant women, but they did find that I think like 700 reported 700 women reported birth defects after taking this medication while I was pregnant. So basically, there had been no studies, there had been no research done to determine whether or not this was safe for me to take while I was pregnant. So why would my doctor reassure me that it was safe to take while I was pregnant? You're lying to me. You cannot reassure me that something is safe to take while I was pregnant when you and nobody else has done research to see if it's safe to take while I was pregnant. So I'm saying that to say, as women, we have to be responsible. We have to be conscious and see, what am I taking in? What am I ingesting? Am I doing my due diligence to see what how these things are going to affect my child? What environment am I in? What partner am I choosing? Um, what behavior am I enabling? Because I'm the gatekeeper. I'm the portal that all things must pass through in order to come into this reality. So, what things am I allowing to pass into my portal? If you want an example of women being a portal or a gateway into our communities, look at the influence of the LGBT community within our society. Now, as you know, as I'm sure most of you know, most heterosexual black men are homophobic. Homophobic. And the reason why I put that is because I don't think they're homophobic, but they get called homophobic because they don't tolerate gay shit. Most heterosexual black men, if you try to put his son on a skirt, he can be like, hell no, take that shit off. You feel me? If he see his son acting like a little girl, he's like, hell no, you a boy, like you know, toughen up, tighten up. You see what I'm saying? And so people will call him homophobic because he doesn't tolerate that type of shit. But you know who is one of the biggest allies of the LGBT community? Black women. Every woman got a gay best friend. Black women were the first to adopt a ballroom culture, right? So I don't, to try to make this super quick. Ballroom culture is essentially the culture of drag queens, right? So when they gather together and they do their performances and they have their different categories and they dress up like women and stuff, that became like a whole separate little subculture. And this is where we get words such as shade, dragged, tea, period, slay. All of these words started in drag queen ballroom culture. And who was the first demographic to adopt these terms outside of gay people? Black women. Black women. Why is this important? Because even though most heterosexual men are vehemently against allowing these things to influence our people in our families, they do so anyways. Why? Because women accept it, women copy it, women emulate it, and then teach it to the children. Now your 3-year-old daughter talking about period. Why the fuck is your 3-year-old daughter talking about period? She ain't never been to no drag queen show because her mother started saying period. And now that she sees her mother saying period, she's gonna say period. And now we even have men starting to say shit like it's the this for me, or you thought you ate. Ate, that's ballroom culture. Oh, she ate that up. She ate that up and left no. Yes, honey, slay. All that shit came from drag queen culture. And women started adopting it. And then the children started adopting it. And now even some men are saying shit like, oh, you thought you ate, huh? Because women are the influencers within our community. We are the influencers and we are the gateways and the portals into our community. The shit that we adopt spreads through our families like cancer or like loving, healing sunlight. Now you need to decide what you're going to take in as a woman. Are you going to allow things in that are going to be a cancer, or are you going to allow things in that are going to be an antibody? So when we're sitting back as women and we're complaining about men and we're complaining about kids and we're complaining about society, we need to first stop and realize that we were the gatekeepers. We were the influencers. We were the divine wombs that were supposed to determine what gets to manifest into this reality. So everything that you're pissed about, either you, your mother, your grandmother, your great great grandmother, some matriarch somewhere in your lineage was the fucking portal that allowed these things to come into the community that you're so upset about. So, with that, I think I'll land my plane. Let me make sure I ain't got nothing else in my notes that I want to tell y'all. Okay, yeah. All right, y'all. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Thank y'all for listening to my little TED talk that they would never let be on TED Talk. Um, yeah, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, run those views up, run them motherfucking up. Share this video to a woman that needs to take accountability. Share this video to a man that's confused about his place in society. And if you got something you don't agree with, then drop it in the comment section below. And if you do agree, drop that you agree in the comment section below. All right, y'all, I'm out.